His fiction tended to be far more surrealistic than much of the material emanating from that period, privileging aesthetics over politics, although all of Kelly's fiction contains political elements that clearly comment upon the larger issues regarding American history, especially the role of African Americans within that history. The tendency still persists among many readers, teachers, publishers, and scholars to view Black literature, no matter of which period, through a socio-political lens. But while it can often be illuminating and necessary to read politics into the compact but singularly accomplished body of Kelly's work, we should also take to heart his very own statement, and I quote, "I am not a sociologist or a politician or a spokesman. Such people try to give answers. A writer, I think, should ask questions," end quote. It is my great privilege and pleasure to present the Anisfield-Wolf Lifetime Achievement Award to William Melvin Kelly. Thank you so much.
I want to thank the Anisfield-Wolf Book Awards for this Lifetime Achievement Award. As I said to Professor Gates when he phoned me, and I'm not even dead yet. I suspect I've received this award for work I did before 1970, when I published my last book. Some good work, but not as good as some I've done since then. I don't like people asking me if I still write. It assumes that a writer can publish everything that he writes, an absurd idea. So I do have a few things in my drawer in case anybody wants something. I'm going to read a story called Carlyle Tries Polygamy. For a while anyway, an African-American man named Carlyle Bedloe lived in one large, sunny room in a brownstone in Lower Edgecombe Avenue in Harlem, USA. Like many men, he had a polygamous nature, which did not make him promiscuous, and neither had he married. But over the years, he usually seemed to have 2 or 3 steady lady friends. In the corner near the window sat an easy guy chair, where by sunlight or lamp, he would relax and read science fiction novels, a pile of which he stacked beside the chair. Sometimes he would look up from his reading and think about the 2 more or less steady lady friends he had kept for the past 10 years. Actually, Glora had occupied a place in his heart for 30 years. In the beginning, he loved her madly, but could not win her because she loved Carlyle's mentor in the hustling life, the society baker and contract killer, C.C. Cooley Johnson. Eventually, when she realized that Cooley Johnson would never love anybody, she and Carlyle began a relationship that produced a daughter, Carlotta, now 12 years old. Carlyle and Glora had broken it off 50 times, but had made up 51 times. The second lady friend in Carlyle's life had a child for him as well, an 8-year-old daughter named Molly, M-A-L-I. He had met Molly's mother, Senegale Miller, at a jump-up given by the Rastafarian Breda, who supplied high-quality cannabis that Carlyle sold to his high society clientele, affluent former Woodstockians who had returned to the lap of luxury but secretly still smoked the blessed herb and did not want the world to know it. He would not see either woman for a week. His brother, who knew something of his dilemma, told him that the blessed Quran gave a man permission to maintain 4 women, which did not help Carlyle. Carlyle could barely manage 2. Thank you.
For those of you who are intimately familiar with the Anisfield-Wolf Book Awards, you may have noticed that we didn't announce a nonfiction winner earlier this year when we announced our winners. You might have wondered if our jury simply didn't feel that any nonfiction work measured up. Well, in actuality, the jury had many, many fabulous works of nonfiction from which to choose this year, and they did indeed select a winner. One work stood out from all the others, but it dealt with highly sensitive, powerful, and controversial subject matter. For having the courage to speak out, its author now lives in hiding under the threat of death. Therefore, we made the decision to keep her award secret until this very moment, for her safety and for the safety of this audience. Rita, I would now like to turn the podium back to you for the introduction of the 2008 Anisfield-Wolf Book Awards winner for nonfiction.
It is an honor to share this podium tonight with Ayan Hirsi Ali, the internationally renowned advocate for the rights of Muslim women and the author of The Caged Virgin, an impassioned collection of essays that came out 2 years ago, as well as her most recent book, her tremendously moving autobiography, Infidel. Her public notoriety was a direct consequence of her outspoken questioning of her own faith and eventual conversion from Islam to atheism. Hirsi Ali's public statements against her erstwhile religion, a religion that she maintains has at its core the abuse of women and a militant intolerance towards secular cultures and individual freedom, raised the ire of Muslims, especially and most dangerously of violent Islamist extremists. In 2004, she and the Dutch filmmaker Theo van Gogh collaborated on the film Submission, about female subordination in Islamic society. As a result, Theo van Gogh was assassinated by a Muslim fanatic. Pinned to his body was a 5-page letter naming Hirsi Ali as the next target. Consequently, she accepted an offer to work as a fellow at the American Enterprise Institute in order to continue her work against discrimination under Islam, and she has since been granted permanent residency in the United States. Infidel, her autobiography, tells the story of the journey behind these headlines, and in particular, the intellectual struggle with the religion of her upbringing. Islam, in her view, quashes individual liberty in favor of adherence to a group ethos that demands total submission. In both her writing and her advocacy work, Ayan Hirsi Ali challenges us to consider the multifaceted meanings of individualism, tolerance, and freedom, values which have always been paramount to the Anisfield-Wolf Book Awards. It is my great honor to present Ayan Hirsi Ali with the 2008 Nonfiction Award for Infidel.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, members of the Cleveland Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored, I'm humbled, I feel encouraged and acknowledged, and I'm very, very grateful to you for that. And I chose the following passages because I find myself a witness to how America is struggling with its race relationship with its past of slavery. And I want to share with you, with all Americans, with anyone who can read and write and who hears me, that bigotry is not only a white man's disease, it's a universal disease. And probably the only way to get rid of it is to continuously examine oneself. But there's no self-examination possible if there can be no self, if we lock ourselves only up in groups. The job counselor sent me to learn bookkeeping in Wageningen, a village close to Ede. That was a very expensive course too, but it seemed to her to be the only option. I suppose she thought that the universal language of numbers would be easier for a foreigner to learn. I did horribly. After 4 weeks, my debit side would never matched my credit side. The teacher sighed and said, "This is really not for you." I said, "I told them all along." So he wrote a letter saying I was not suitable for bookkeeping and I stopped attending class. I still wanted more than this life. I had decided I wanted to study political science. If that required going to university, then that's where I would go. I tried to explain that I wanted to understand why life in Holland was so different from life in Africa, why there was so much peace, security, and wealth in Europe, what the causes of war were, and how you built peace. I didn't have any answers, just questions. I thought about it all the time. Every contact I had with government, I thought, how do you get to have a government like this one? This was an infidel country, whose way of life we Muslims were supposed to oppose and reject. Why was it then so much better run, better led, and made for such better lives than the places where we came from? Shouldn't the places where Allah was worshipped and his laws obeyed have been at peace and wealthy, and the unbelievers' countries ignorant and poor and at war? I wanted to understand conflict. We were all facing the same confusion. We had always been sure that we, as Muslims and Somalis, were superior to unbelievers. And here we were, not superior at all. Thank you.
So thank you all for joining us here tonight. We look forward to seeing you again next year at the ceremony. Good night, and please have a safe trip home.
Funding for the production of the Anisfield-Wolf Book Awards program is provided by the Cleveland Foundation, supporting good causes and big ideas that enhance the lives of people in Greater Cleveland.